This clip is going to take a look at data validation. And in this example, I'm going to focus on where I've got a list of values. So in a previous clip, I dealt with numbers. Numbers had to be between a certain upper and lower, or lower and upper limit. Now I'm looking at in this example of in the journalist's spreadsheet, looking at the topic that the journalists write about. So in the sample data here, we have the journalists write either about sport, about politics, or fashion. So say we have a rule, or we want a rule in our spreadsheet that only those three values are allowed in that column. So in this range of cells, the user isn't allowed to key in anything other than sport, fashion, or politics. So if I want to take the current setup in that set of cells, I can type in anything I want. So I can type in film if I wish, and Excel won't complain. So next time when I'm doing this, I want Excel to give me an error message and to suggest the correct values to me. So I'm just going to undo that. So in Excel, to achieve this, to set or to limit what can go into a cell, you use the data validation feature. So the data validation feature is available under the data option, and over here in the set of tools, there's one with a green tick and a red alert on it, and that's the data validation tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it to all of these cells eventually, where I have a rule which is going to, according to question 2, it says as follows: the topic details for a journalist must contain one of the following three values: sport, politics, or fashion. When a user tries to click any of the cells in this range, an input message saying the topic details must be one of fashion, politics, sport must be displayed. I've put them in alphabetical order here, which makes sense in the long run. The input message should have the following title: topic validation. And in the event that the user enters an invalid topic, for example, French or film or something like that, then an error alert should pop up with the title invalid topic. And a message should be displayed showing the following error message: topic chosen isn't one on the approved list. Please make correction. So this is a bit vague perhaps, but maybe I can leave it that short, as you'll see a little bit later on. So the request is to use the data validation feature in Excel to create the rule, set up the rule described above, so that any inappropriate or invalid data is rejected should a user enter an invalid value such as French or film or whatever, and then test the rule by entering a value such as business to prove the rule works as intended. So that testing phase is very important, because it's the one way you might detect an error in what you've done. So as I said, this rule needs to apply to this entire range of cells. And I could do the entire range like I did in the earlier clip explaining the readers, but I'm just going to do the first cell, and then I'm going to paste it to the remaining cells. I'm going to use paste special. So if you've never used paste special before, here's a case where you might want to use it. So I'm clicking on the first cell that this rule is going to apply in, and I'm going to just copy the three values here: fashion, sport, and politics, or politics and sport, so that it'll save me typing them in a moment. So I'm going to go to the first cell, choose the validation option on the toolbar. When it pops up, there's three zones here. There's the tab for settings, the tab for the input message, and the tab for the error alert. So I might build them up in three separate kind of moves in a moment's time, but I could build them all in one go. So for settings, this is where I want to limit the three values to fashion, politics, and sport. So currently it allows any value, as you saw earlier on, where I keyed in film, but I want to limit it to a list of values. Okay, so the list of values is going to be those three choices. So when I've got text or a list of numbers, of specific numbers that I want to work from, the list ID is appropriate. So the data box is now grayed out because that's not applicable here. It's not relevant to this. It's irrelevant to this particular exercise. And the source, so this is where my source is going to be the three possibilities. I need to separate them with commas. So that's the important aspect of this. Fashion, politics, and sport need to be separated by commas. And I'm going to leave it at that for the moment and just click the OK button. Now only one cell here is active, as you can see, the first cell, where I have a drop down. The way you notice it is the drop down list has appeared. So it says fashion, sport, and fashion, politics, and sport. So if I still stay on that cell and I try and type in film, and press return, I get the standard inbuilt Excel error message saying my value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for the cell, but it doesn't tell me any more. Okay, so that's possibly a lack of clarity in the message. So I'm going to cancel that. And now I'm going to go back and extend my my help and my guidance to the user who might make a mistake. So for the input message, this is what the heading's going to be. Topic details must contain one of fashion, politics, and sport. So I'll go back to my cell again, just that one cell for the moment, and choose the data validation and go to my input message. So my settings or my validation criteria are here looking at me. Go to the tab for the input message and key in the 3 choices, or the message recommending the 3 choices. And the heading on that, it said, was topic validation. The title on that should be topic validation. And we OK that. So now you see it's getting a small bit more informative. When I float over the cell, as well as the drop-down list appearing, I get this prompt to remind me of the 3 topics. But I'm going to go and put in the error alert straight away. And it says, topic chosen isn't on the approved list. Please make corrections. So I possibly should elaborate on that. That's a bit maybe too vague here. So topic isn't on the approved list of fashion, politics, and sport. Please make corrections. That gives the user much more a clear idea as to what needs to be done. So I'm going to copy the message to stop me typing, and I'm going to go back into the single cell again, and I'm going to click on the data validation, and this time go to the error alert option, the error alert tab, put in my error message, and put in my heading, which should read invalid topic. Okay, so your error alert the heading on it needs to in some way suggest what you're doing is inappropriate. So it's invalid, illegal, whatever phrase you want to use, depending on the context. And my message is stop again, a stop sign, whereas it could be any of the other 2 choices, a warning or an information. But the red and stop sign is appealing. So that's that particular rule for that cell now finalized. So if I put in film or business, I think as the question suggests, I type in business. Okay, now my error alert that pops up is far more precise and far more useful as a guide. So it says topic chosen isn't on the approved list of fashion, politics, or sport. Please make corrections. So I can retry that, or I can cancel it. So I'll retry it. I think that the option said sport originally, as far as I remember. So I typed it there. I didn't need to type it. So I could have just chosen from the drop-down list of politics and left it alone at that. Or I'll go back now and just change it to sport. Okay. So the other benefit of having this validation rule in place is if you've got long, complicated terms that are difficult to spell, having this list in place reduces the chance of the user accidentally misspelling something. So it's helpful in 2 respects. It's helpful in the validation respect, and it's helpful kind of in the simple clerical sense that it speeds up the user by them not having to type in long-winded terms or something that's difficult to spell. So the issue now is that this rule only applies to this cell up here at the top. It doesn't apply to the cells down further on. So the way you can do that is by clicking on the cell and copying the cell, copying the contents of the cell, and then highlighting the range of cells you want this rule to apply in. But don't choose paste, because if you choose paste, it'll simply overtype everything as I'm demonstrating now. So sport goes in everywhere. I don't want that. Okay, so let's go back again. And I'll click on the cell and copy it using Control-C, or I can use the menu. And then I click on highlight my range of cells that I want this rule to apply to. And instead of choosing paste, I need to choose paste special. So when I right click here, paste special, there's a list of paste variations that pops up, where it's the just a straight paste, paste values, paste formulae, transpose, formatting, etc. But the last of those options here, or just below the options, is paste special. And that's at the very end of the list of options. So choose paste special and make sure you click on validation. So if you watch this in a moment, all the values here, sport, will stay where sport is, fashion where fashion is, and politics where politics is currently. So when I hit the OK button, all that happens is the validation is pasted. So if I click on any cell here, you see the options pop up. Or if I click on the entire range of cells now, I'll ignore the first cell for the moment and click on validation, you'll notice that the settings say fashion, politics, sport. That means it applies to every cell in that range. Okay, if some cells were blank, that the rule wouldn't appear, wouldn't be visible here. Same with the input message, it's applicable, it's been applied to all cells, and likewise the error alert. So that's the other way of replicating the validation rule. So in the earlier example, I built it in the readers, highlighted the entire readers set of values at the start and built the rules that applied to them all. Whereas in this case, I only highlighted one cell, built the rule in that one cell, and then used copy and paste special validation to apply the rule to all the other cells. So that's the two ways you can apply the data validation feature in Excel in those two instances. So that's the end of the clip.